Welcome to the Catherine Vandome and Me podcast.
Hashtag hosts and the HQFM quiz and bingo software are proud to sponsor the Catherine Vandome and Me podcast. With HQFM quiz and bingo software, you can use this interactive quiz software at any venue. All you need is an internet connection. Go to hashtagquiz.co.uk for your free trial today.
Hello and welcome to Catherine Vandome and Me. And today I'm joined by a very talented guest who is a West End performer and a television actress, best known for her role as Lucy Milligan in the TV series Footballers' Wives. And most importantly, she is now inspiring a new generation of artists with her theatre school, which is called the Starlight Theatre School. And she's a very, very dear friend of mine from childhood. And it gives me great pleasure to welcome onto today's show the gorgeous Helen Latham / Morfitt. How are you today, Helen?
Hi, Cathy. I am good. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. And you're very, very welcome. Just so that we can understand, in childhood you were Helen Latham, and you're now married, of course, and your married name is Helen Morfitt. In case anybody wants to Google search you and find out what you have done, and if you can just lead us in today, Helen, with a little bit about. Just a brief synopsis of what you have been doing professionally, and then if you like, we're going to take you back to your childhood, our childhood, and enjoy the journey with you. So a little brief synopsis of who and what you've been doing, Helen.
Okay, so I grew up in Preston with you around the corner, and I went off to drama school, Mount View Theatre School in London when I was 18. After A-levels, where I met my future husband, Darren Morfitt. We celebrated our 20th wedding anniversary yesterday.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. 29 years altogether. Every year counts. Drama school. And then after drama school, went into mostly TV, quite a few bits of theatre. I did Starlight Express in the West End in the final cast, which was 2001 to 2002. Wow. And then got married at 28. And then with my first child at 30, I took a step back and I raised my 3 children. My youngest is now 14. So it's been a varied career, theatre, film, TV, commercials, whatever pays the gas bills. And it's been loads of fun. And the future is an open book.
Oh, fantastic, Helen. And well, that's brilliant. Thank you for giving us a synopsis there. So we're going to take you back to your childhood. And you were born in, am I right, Fulwood, Preston?
I was born in my mum's bed in my mum and dad's house in Fulwood. Yep.
Oh, wow.
Where we lived our whole life. My mum still lives there now. So I go back there to visit. In Fulwood, the little suburb, little church community. We used to sing in the choir. Didn't we? Coming in with all the descant. Yes, great upbringing, great time at high school, joined in with the school plays, strange titled ones like The Thwarting of Baron Bolligrew.
Yes. What did you play in that, Helen?
Do you know what? What did I play?
Were you a dancer with me, throwing eggs at each other?
I threw some Easter eggs around, and I don't know why. I don't know what happened, anything, but we threw Easter eggs to each other, didn't we?
We did, because in Preston, in Preston, there's a tradition of rolling your Easter eggs down the Avonham Park, which doesn't happen anywhere else, Helen. So for some unknown reason, we brought that tradition into the Thwarting of Baron Bolligrew, and great production, great cast, and that was in your high school. But I want to take you back slightly further behind that, back to your young childhood. Where did you go to primary school, Helen?
So my first primary school was St. Clair's, which was a Catholic primary school in Fulwood. And then after a couple of years, for, I'm not sure, various reasons from my parents, we swapped to Our Lady and St. Edward's when I started there when I was 6. I can remember promptly making friends with the other two little dancing girls in the class. The three of us little dancey brats. We weren't brats, we were quite nice. And we used to go to ballet, tap and modern together and school. And our dance school, we were in like the same grades. And you were also at my dance school, although you were a few school years ahead. So yes, dance school, primary school, lots of fun, lots of good times, lots of shows. So our dance school used to provide the little chorus, didn't they? And we'd
Yes.
Miss Jones, our gorgeous teacher, would enter us in for these, say a tour passing through, like you and I did the Wizard of Oz. We were little munchkins and villagers. I did tours of, there was like a ballet, there were pantomimes. So I got my taste for the stage probably through my dance school and through little school plays at primary school too. I actually wrote, I was 8, by the way, a musical.
Did you?
It was well, Lloyd Webber doesn't have to be worried. It was called The Land of the Rainbow.
Say it again, Helen. It was called
The Land of the Rainbow.
Ooh.
Yes, haven't you heard of it? And I wrote it, and I composed the music, and I directed it. Basically, I bossed everyone around, gave myself one of the main parts, gave my other 2 best friends the other main parts, and the school, bless them, let me put it on one lunchtime on the school stage. They let me perform it, which was very...
No way. This is at Our Ladies and St Edward's, the primary school.
Yeah, that's it, on the stage with the yellow curtains.
My goodness, Helen.
Remember the yellow curtains?
Yes.
So yeah, I'm not sure how impressed the audience were, but it was quite an achievement to just get through to the end of it without us little girls falling out with each other. So yeah, that was very fun.
That's incredible, because taking you back even further, you basically, am I right, you started learning piano lessons at home. So you had lots and lots of not just your education and your outside, like you say, the dance school with Barbara Saunders-Jones Dance School, where we also trained together. But you also, on top of that, you had home education, and I think learnt to play the piano quite young, which is, a huge credit to your extracurricular talents as well. So how old were you when you started playing the piano, Helen?
I think I was 6. I went to a lovely old lady called Mrs. Scott on Blackpool Lane. I remember all the rings on her fingers as she was playing piano. I was 6, and my mum and dad said that all 3 of us children have got an older brother and sister, Mary Claire and Tony, and we had to learn piano. And then the deal was that we got our grade 5 practical and theory, and then we could give up or we could carry on, whatever we wanted. So I had to do half an hour piano practice every day.
Did you?
Required, quite traditional parents. And
what, before breakfast, Helen?
Whenever it fitted in, before breakfast. And me in the mornings, no. It was enough of a job getting out the door and walking to school with Mary Claire with her long legs. She was like 4 years older than me. She never waited for me. I had to jog to keep up with her. So no, not before school. But yeah, 30 minutes a day. And my mum still has the piano, and it's got these scratches across it where I used to take my hair clip out in frustration and scratch the piano.
Really?
About 6 or 7. So yeah, so I got my grade 5 when I was about age 11, if I remember. And then my sister and we gave up at our grade 5, and my brother carried on and ended up amazing on the piano. But I can read music, I can play, quite simply, and it's definitely been a help. Learning songs for auditions, things like that, sight singing at drama school, it massively, massively helped.
So you would encourage children today, Helen, that might want to follow in your footsteps, to potentially pick up an instrument, have a go at it, but perhaps the piano. What would be the benefit of the piano, do you think?
For me, the benefit is, I know it's not very portable. You can't sort of carry it around. I know that the argument for like guitar is great because of that. I'm a big fan. I can't play guitar at all, but I love what you can do with the guitar. But there are plenty of pianos knocking around, especially if you're in a sort of, the theatre kind of industry, in rehearsal rooms, in pubs. My brother would always be playing the last person in the pub, and he'd be playing it in the corner when we were in our London life of partying. And it's just a great thing. It gathers people together, but it really helps, bash out your notes for a song, to get a feel of how something sounds. The main thing, I think, is theory of music. That has been the absolute big help. And I'm trying to get my own children now. I'm sitting them down, trying to make it fun. because it
Are
is
you
kind of
hiding
fun.
all the hair clips, Helen, so they don't scratch anything?
Yeah, yeah. Do you know what? They're more natural than me. My daughter, who's Lula, who's 15, is amazing at making up songs, and she doesn't want to scratch the piano. She's natural. She plays by ear, which I cannot do. I cannot play by ear at all. But yeah, theory of music it's just a prop. It really props you up when you have anything to learn, really.
That's
Harmonies,
fantastic.
things like that. It is very helpful.
And as you say, for your singing auditions as well, which we'll come on to in a second, that will help you so that you're not relying necessarily on somebody else to, to play the music for you, which is great. And, voice warm-ups, I'm sure as well, those types of things. So all adding to the strings to the bow of the hybrid of skills that are needed in the entertainment industry, in particular your field, which is West End musicals. So you started at school, you put on your own production, which is a huge accolade, Helen, because
Let's
not
get excited. You didn't see it, Cathy. I don't know if you did.
No,
know that.
I would have been slightly older, maybe gone to high school by then. But I think, well, I think we all want to see if there's any videos of that to put on at the end of this.
There aren't. There aren't. I can give you a clip if you like. Would you like a sample?
I certainly would. Here we go.
Okay, are you ready? Now be prepared for the Tony Awards and the Olivia Awards coming in. So it's about a magical land, and it was about a golden stairway that a young girl saw appear in the bottom of her garden. And then when she climbed it, she met Princess Pearl and someone else, and lots of raindrop men. There were raindrop men, and they all had umbrellas. I got all my classmates, and I choreographed it all, and I made them sing. Hold on, something about we are the raindrop men, the raindrop men, the raindrop men. We are the raindrop men, and we live on the rainbow. I mean,
Helen,
how amazing is that?
Well, if Lloyd Webber is watching, could I please encourage him to give you a call and continue this, because this has to be next year's hit, Helen. This has to be.
Macintosh has been on the phone. We're going to produce it globally.
It all starts with a rainbow.
There you go. Yes, it does.
So well done, Helen. That's absolutely brilliant. So you were starting at a young age to not just learn musical skills, sing and dance and act and perform, but you're also starting to direct and produce from the very young age of 8. So you had a hybrid of skills there. Brilliant. And when you got to high school, you did, as you say, The Thwarting of Baron Bolligrew. And what other productions did you do in high school, Helen, under the tutelage of Mrs. Connor, which was our drama teacher?
Yes, lovely Mrs. Connor, deaf in one ear. Remember, we always had to speak to her around one side.
Oh, right. No, I didn't.
You always had to stand around one side of her. Yeah. She was fantastic. No nonsense. Exactly what we needed. I did Thwarting of Baron Bolligrew, and then I did Dracula Spectacular.
Yes.
And I played Nadia Naive, she was like the romantic lead, and I had a solo, and I had to kiss Neil Gorman. And it was all fun, comedy, lots of singing, practicing my American accent, I think. Actually, not for the first time, but the show was a great experience. It was loads of fun. But the American accent I'd done in another show that was probably the most significant, that you were in as well. So that was still at primary school. I was in the very last year of primary school, and I was Annie in an amateur production of Annie. So it was amateur. It was Preston Musical Comedy Society. It was a fab society. They
were semi-pros, Helen. I want to add that they were semi-professional and should really be professional. Yeah.
Professional director, professional orchestra, all and professional standard. And they auditioned as girls throughout Lancashire, I guess. My grandma saw a little clip in the paper, just a tiny little couple of lines. I can remember my grandma's lounge, her showing the paper to my mum. To say, would I like to audition for this? So I auditioned, and I had a recall, or two, no, I think just one. And then my mum brought me the letter. She had a letter in her hand, and she came into my bedroom, and she had tears in her eyes.
Oh,
and
Helen!
I could see that it was from the PMCS. And I was like, oh, I've not got it. And she handed it over, and then I realised it was tears of pride or joy, and I'd got Annie, got the lead. I believe they said 500-600 of us auditioned, so I was very pleased. And that was a turning point. for me. Just, you know, how I saw myself, my confidence, my sort of identity as a singer and an actress. I was only 11, but, you know, it goes in. It goes in what people say about you. And everyone was very lovely, and I learned a lot. You were an orphan in it too. You were amazing, darling. And it was just a fab show. We were great. We were young. We were full of energy. Gorgeous adults behind us. Gorgeous support from the cast, and it changed my life. I was
It
like,
did.
oh,
And
I
you
love this.
also you got to work with that lead role, which was phenomenal. You played a phenomenal part there, and you got to work with the likes of Julie Webster,
Yeah,
also Eddie Regan,
yeah.
you know, all of the sort of leading artists that make Preston musicals so fantastic. And we were so blessed. And that was at the Charter Theatre in Preston. I would be 13. I think I looked 9. And
Yeah,
I think
I
I've
was
only
10
just,
when I auditioned, and I was 11 when I performed it.
yes, and you
Had
were phenomenal because you got to work with the actual adults, because you had a lot of roles and scenes, I should say, with some of the adults.
yeah.
You also got to work alongside them. And I remember Daddy Warbucks' character. Can you remember
Mike
who played,
G.
say,
Mike G. was called.
Mike G? He took you under his wing. He treated you like his own daughter, and he was so sensitive to
So,
caring for you. Yeah, you tell us
can I
about
just
that.
say, I also took him under my wing. We had a duet, I'm sure people will know from Annie. Together at last, together forever. And we had a little dance routine. And, you know, little dancer me, maybe. But Mike, bless him, not a dancer. So
Oh,
little 11-year-old me would take him out of the rehearsals into the corridor. We rehearsed in a primary school, didn't we? So I'd take him
yes.
out into the corridor and desperately go over and over the routine, because he just couldn't get it until he got it. So I had to
Oh,
coach him.
Helen. So
And
even at
we
11,
looked
you were
after,
obviously, say it again.
yeah, we looked after each other, because he really needed the extra coach.
Oh, and this is the other thing, you see, with musical theatre in particular, it's a genre where you do need to have to be a triple threat, which of course you are: the singing, the dancing, and multiple faceted dancing, tap, ballet, modern, and then also you know, the acting skills as well, which you have all of those in abundance, which is great. And I remember that we after church we would come home to your house as youngsters, and we would spend hours upstairs to I'll let you tell the rest of the story, and your mother and father would sit on the sofa, and they would be made to be the audience of our little productions there as well. So you take over and tell that story.
Yes, they were made. They absolutely, they didn't get any choice in the matter. It wasn't a request. It was an order. So yeah, we used to make up dances. I can remember, well, I'm a massive Wham fan still, obviously, because they're amazing. So I fell in love with Wham when I was about 6. And then from there, I spent ages making up dances. So my choreographing started when I was little, and which I do now in my children's classes. And it's funny, the through line of life, what you often start as a kid, just enjoying yourself, will be often what you come back to as
Yes.
an adult. So we used to make up dances to Wake Me Up Before You Go. Cathy, I don't know if you still know the choreography. So we actually, it was you and I ordered you around, bossed you around as well. So sorry about that. We could both be bossy at the time. But we'd make stuff up and show my mum and dad. And I also remember in the dressing rooms of shows, you and I remember saying, you got to sit on the dressing table in the dressing room of the Charter Theatre, and we had to face each other. And it was like, bug. Do you remember? We had to like touch toes and hands and then turn, and then we swung our legs over the end of the desk. Anyway, I won't go into the whole routine. But,
It
lots of
usually ended up
routines
in the
made up.
splits in front of your mother or your
Yes.
father's a gasp, and we'd kind of try and get them up. Your dad was a dancer, so he was very much like wanting to join in as well, and they loved it. They always gave us an applause no matter what happened at the end of the routine. We'd all end up rolling across the floor giggling, and they were really a prime audience as well. So you had that wonderful support, Helen, didn't you, from your parents, which is,
Definitely.
you know, which transcends who you are today, supporting your own children in the same fields as well. So tell us about that.
Well, the thing back to my parents first is that everything's kind of started My mum was so devoted and so supportive. So I was actually born with a turned-in foot and a turned-in eye. I was like, so I had to have an eye operation to turn out my left eye, and I had a patch over my eye for I think it was about a year when I was 2. And for so that kind of got sorted. Although on close-ups in TV programs, and I've got some of the clips, you can see tiny bit. You can see, but hey, it's me.
Can I just say, Helen? Can I just say, I've known you all my life, and I didn't know that. So it just shows that's a talent. If you can do that with your eyes, I believe that's a special gift.
So the operation worked, but the turned-in feet, the doctor prescribed ballet classes. And that was why my mum took me along to Mrs. Jones, the local ballet teacher, and I was 3. So it was the age of 3. And then I enjoyed it. I'm not built for ballet. I have a body for Zumba, shall we say, for booty shaking, not ballet.
You were a beautiful ballerina, Helen. You were.
Well, it taught me a lot. Other than ballet, it teaches you posture, doesn't it? It teaches you confidence. It teaches you how to hold yourself. And I do feel like the ballet classes that went in, I do think that they've stayed with me. Definitely, really in my posture. There's so many people with bad posture. I'm like, just get your shoulders back.
Yes.
Straighten back.
Yes.
And I used
to
have
it's the hardest form of dance, Helen. Ballet is the hardest form of dance. Once you understand that, then you understand how difficult it is.
Yeah, definitely. I used to have a sway back as well, a real arch back, so it helped with that. But I don't have arched feet. I used to cry that I didn't have arches on my feet. So when it came to point work I was about 13, couldn't quite get fully up on point no matter how hard I tried. So I tried, and I kept studying ballet right till I left home at 17, 18. But yes, not the exact bad body for ballet, so I would never be a prima ballerina, but I did love it. And then when I'd started the lessons, I heard the noise coming from the other hall, and I was like, what's that? And it was tap. It was the tap class. I was like, I really want to do it. And my mum let me join tap and then modern. And so that was there, all the dancing kind of layered up. And it was because my mum ferrying me around to medical appointments, following the doctor's advice. She then ferried me around to all the shows, made all my costumes on her little sewing machine. And just made it all happen, really.
That's phenomenal. Well, our mums did that. That's something that you kind of forget, that they did all the ferrying around that you're now doing as well, which is motherhood, but also in entertainment. There's all the extracurricular, there's the nighttime shows, there's a lot to do as a parent in support of your child. But also, as you said, back then, there weren't costumiers as we have today. Our parents did all the sewing, and God bless them. I can't sew, and God bless them for being able to have those extra skills as well. So, so moving forwards, Helen, I want to also ask you, after you graduated, what happened then? Did you you finished school and then you did A levels, and what did you do for your A levels?
Yes, so I did my GCSEs. Did pretty well, sailed through them, and got a little cocky. Thought I could do the same with my A levels. I didn't quite revise quite enough. But anyway, it's a great question, that long ago. I did general studies. I did Tudor history. I don't know why. I did English literature and art. So I was due to do maths because I actually quite like maths, but I thought I'd failed my GCSE. I remember handing my paper in tears, and then I ended up getting a B. So I hadn't actually failed it. I could have done the A level, but by then would have the big talks with my parents and how I wasn't going to pass my GCSE and make a different choice for A level. And I chose Tudor history, which I have no interest in at all. Henry VIII and his colour of belt and all that. See, now, of course, we've got Six, the musical, which probably would have brought it all to life for me. My daughter.
Well, there you go, Helen.
All around the house, every day. She loves it. But I wasn't into it, so I didn't do too brilliantly. I did get an N instead of a U in Tudor history because in the exam I sat there for 2.5 hours, however long it was, and I drew a beautiful vine up the side of the paper with leaves and blossoms, and I think that they saw the artwork and gave me that half a mark more. They weren't fabulous A levels, but they weren't awful. I did okay, and it was at the Catholic sixth form. My parents said, we want you to go to the academic sixth form, which was Cardinal Newman College.
Yes.
I quite wanted to go to Preston College and do drama, like I think, which is what you did, right? So I was like 2 years behind you, and I thought, oh, drama. And my mum and dad said, no, we're going to say no. We're going to support you if you do want to go to drama school, but you have to get your academics first.
Yes.
And looking back, I think, you know what, fair enough. That didn't do me any harm at all. Not that I got a full-on, straight A's or anything in my academics. I did not revise very well.
But you learned about Tudor history, Helen.
You say so. I learned a little bit. I very much enjoyed the art and the English lit. And then I can remember filling out the UCAS form, which I've just done with my 18-year-old son, who's off to university in September.
Oh.
And I was filling mine out at college, and I got halfway through it, and I can remember ripping it up, going, no, I'm going on the stage, darling. I ripped it up, and I thought, instead of going to art school and doing graphic design, which was my original plan, digitally altering photos, I hate computers. What was I thinking? I just can't, not into tech at all. And I thought, no, I'm going to do it. I'm going to try for drama school, which is what I did. I auditioned for 4 of the top London drama schools. I got in 2. That might be a lie. I might have only got in 1. I think I got in 2, and I chose Mount View Theatre School.
That's excellent, because that's a very highly esteemed drama school, is Mount View, and very much specialises in musical theatre as well, which is fantastic, as well as television acting. But its main focus back then was musical, which is where our hearts are, which is fantastic for yourself. And I want to know then what happened after you'd, or what qualities did you feel that you gained from Mount View in particular, for anybody who's wanting to audition for Mount View?
The qualities I gained, well, it's just about the quality of training. I mean, it is a top.
That's what I mean. Yeah,
it is really, really good for musical theatre. The industry is aware of that, so that's reflected in who goes to the graduations. So the main end point was the grad, which was in the West End Theatre. We graduated to the Cambridge Theatre. Lovely theatre, and then they invite industry professionals, so the audience is full of casting directors and agents, which obviously is, the be all and end all, or a massive leg up anyway. There are other ways, but it's the massive leg up to starting in the business. So yes, we did our 3 years. We did a foundation year, first year, where we did a bit of everything: acting, musical theatre. Then you had to choose for your final 2 years if you did the acting course or the musical theatre twinkly course. I chose the twinkly course, of course, but we did find that a lot of the actors spent a heck of a lot of time in the pub. They might have been discussing Shakespeare and Pinter.
The straight actors, you mean?
Yeah, it was Pinter over a pint and a lot of pints. Whereas we would have like a singing lesson the next day. And so we'd be usually looking after our voices. Plenty of alcohol did flow, but I do remember having a class called emotional release, which I'm not a mad fan of, to be honest. It involved getting a bit self-indulgent. I'm a little bit down to earth with this business. I'm a bit sort of normal. I'm not into the airy fairy side. And emotional release was all about letting it all out, whereas I think you can just pretend, that Anthony Hopkins style. I believe he said to someone once, I think Daniel Day-Lewis had been beating himself up in a prison cell for a job, going about it very method. And I think Anthony Hopkins was like, well, just, you're going to be a butler, just put a tray on your hand and carry some drinks, Laurence Olivier, similar to Dustin Hoffman. I think it was Marathon Man. Dustin Hoffman was running around frantically to really get into the part. And I think Olivia said something like, just try acting, dear boy. So I'm a bit more, not that I'm like Olivia, but I just think we pretend these things. And emotional release involved punching cushions. And one poor guy that was a little bit unstable, bless him, ended up throwing a chair across the room. And I think he had a bit of a nervous breakdown. It was all very encouraged to be, very dramatic and screaming and shouting. And I went to the head of year and I said, can I be excused from emotional release? My emotions release fine. And I've got a singing lesson the next morning. And we had to pay for them privately. And I can't be screaming and shouting because it takes away my voice. So I was being very practical. And I think I was correct anyway, in my opinion. So I ducked out of some of the emotional release. So I had some voice left for my singing lessons, which led to something tangible that helped my career, not flinging chairs around. But, drama students, of course.
That's
We
interesting.
explore ourselves.
That's interesting, Helen, that you actually had the wherewithal and character to actually say, this isn't helping me personally. It might help somebody else, but I want to choose my destiny. And I think there's often not a lot of that in this career. We often get pushed into things that we don't feel comfortable doing and things like that, as you just explained. And we just follow what the masses are doing. And so your individuality was sort of from age 8, really, where you started to produce your own production. And now you were asserting that individuality and saying this wasn't serving you personally. And who knows whether that particular part of the course is still running, thanks to your insight.
I definitely spoke up and I met my now husband, Darren, at Mount View. So I met him actually on the open day before we started, and then we met first day, first term, first year. We were in the same group. So he also would always stand up for what he thought. I do remember watching a production of a different group in our year. They did Romeo and Juliet, which I adore. I love it. I get really into it. Shakespeare makes me cry, blah, blah. But they did it with a director who was artsy fartsy, shall I say. I'm going to stay on. Keep it nice for the podcast. Full of anyway, and it was very self-indulgent, and it ruined the entire production. And I do think that you need to be honest about things. So whilst we were respectful, we just couldn't watch it, and so we just very silently started doing our bank statement on a piece of paper on our lap, very silently, very still. No gossiping, no bad mouth. These were our fellow students. It was the director that we were like, he's wasted their whole time. Anyway, they were not happy. They thought we were passing notes where we were basically doing our student finances, which was probably a bit depressing, but we did. And then we were told to go and talk to the whole group. And I don't like confrontation, or I really didn't back then. So I was in floods of tears, and I apologized for them if they felt bad, but just said, we didn't. The production it's very difficult talking to your fellow students, but it was the director that we were disappointed with. And anyway, and Darren went in and obviously articulated much better. He wasn't crying, and he addressed the whole group, and he explained the reasons why it was crying.
Did it?
It was. He didn't teach that poor group who were paying big fees like we were. He didn't teach them anything that would help their career. And that was a real moment of standing up for what we thought was right.
And what I want to move on to now, Helen, is that you graduated in your third year at Mount View, and you graduated at the Cambridge Theatre where you did your West End performance. And what happened from there, Helen? What was your journey from there in auditions and things?
So my main journey actually did start before I graduated. So we do the 2 years first, and then in the third year you do a year of productions. You learn through the productions and through the rehearsals. It's not classes anymore. So the school had its own theatre in Crouch End. It's not there anymore, but it was beautiful. It had a tree growing through it. I remember there was a live living tree in the wings. Anyway. So we did a year of productions, and agents were invited to our third year productions. And I actually had the smallest part in every production. And I know this because I was hired. They used to give us a little wage to line count the scripts. And I line counted our third year scripts. I had the smallest part in all of them. We were given like leads, shared around the year. And my lead, which I think is not helpful at all, was in the panto. Now, although I love panto, from an agent's point of view, it would have been better to have, been in a musical and shown myself in. So I got Aladdin, and I also had to share the part with an alternate Aladdin, bizarrely another girl from Preston, lovely girl, and it was very weird. I got just the panto lead, and the director basically ignored me. I don't know if she was a bitter older lady. I don't know. I'm not going to badmouth anyone. But it was pretty shoddy behaviour to a drama student. She really favoured the other Aladdin and basically ignored me. And that was my lead. Anyway, I did Moby Dick, which was another third year production, and I had 3 words in it. I can remember, and they were, "There she blows." That was my 3 words. But for whatever reason, after our Moby Dick production, I had 14 letters from agents contact me. I had the smallest part, the whole thing. I had 14 letters it did put the cat among the pigeons slightly. Some of the girls I can remember weren't massively thrilled because drama schools, you know, it's very competitive little environment. We were all young girls in our early 20s. They're all gorgeous now. We're all lovely people, but you know, a little bit of an atmosphere. So yeah, I was very thrilled to get lots of contact from agents. And so I actually ended up signing with my agent, Elaine Murphy, before I graduated.
Fantastic,
So
fantastic. So how did you make that decision? Sorry, Helen, how did you make that decision? If you've got this plethora of agents wanting to sign with you, how did you come to that decision with this lady?
A little bit of research, a little bit of checking out who their clients were, and instinct. That's the way I've done my entire life. Follow my heart, just follow my heart. And my instincts have taught me, you know, as the years have gone on, I've realized my instincts have usually been correct. You know, led me to my husband, led me to my agent, led me through a strange world that can be very, very strange. Follow my instincts. They seem to be rooted in something right. So yeah, I just followed my heart, and Elaine was gorgeous, lovely, hilarious, great agent. She was connected, and yeah, she started putting me up for castings in my third year, which was, you know, very exciting. And my first job, I was in my third year, was a Walker's Crisps advert.
Brilliant. And we've seen that. Yes. Excellent, Helen.
I didn't speak. I had to open a packet of crisps and squeal with joy that I'd won some money. And that was my first job. I got £4,000. And I can remember when Elaine rang me, I was in my student house. I screamed down the phone with joy. And she was like, "Oh, Helen, babes, I hope you always keep this level of joy for your whole career." She was so excited.
Great. So, yeah. Oh, fantastic. And that was a job that you'd already attained before you graduated. So did you sign with Elaine prior to graduating then?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, signed with her in my third year. So our graduation, which was, you know, dry mouth, heart in your mouth, everyone terrified if they were going to get an agent. I was nervous about going on the stage a little bit, I guess, but I'd signed. It was great. So I could sort of try and be anything I could do to soothe anyone else's nerves, you know, just keep it all nice and relaxed. I really felt like that. I can remember feeling for them going, am I going to get an agent or not? You know, many of them were amazing and then did some great jobs, but because I'd already got mine, it was very reassuring, definitely.
Fantastic. And what about your Darren as well? Was he in the same production and graduation as yourself?
Yes, he was in the same graduation, yeah, because we were on the same musical theatre course. So we got like paired up for duets and solos and things. So I didn't sing with him in the graduation. Did a lovely song with a girl called Geraldine. It was great. And I did a duet with a different girl called Natasha. That was fun. So yeah, we're in the same graduation. And we're all in the same big numbers, so it is very sweet now looking back on the video.
I was just thinking how romantic to start your career, as you said, celebrating 20 years of marriage yesterday, but 29 years. But a great coupling, and you know, both of you working in the industry together, and you go off in your direction, and you get this grand role of well, what you tell us what happened next, Helen.
Well, okay, so yes, I got together with Darren in the third year. I think it was, sorry, not in the third year, in the first year. So in the second term of the first year, and then we were together. So he came from a different direction. He was a movie buff. He was into De Niro, Pacino, you know, very serious, proper actor, whereas I was a twinkly. But they merged, these paths merged, and he realised that the musical theatre course had a better graduation and all the agents came. So he was quite pragmatic, and so he switched to musical theatre. And then after graduation, he also signed with Elaine, my agent.
Okay, that's interesting.
He's amazing. And so she spotted him in his third year shows, but she was very reluctant because she said she doesn't sign couples, you know, for obvious reasons. There can be drama and they can split up. So we all went to dinner and talked about it, and we reassured her that everything would be fine. And it is. Here we are, still married. But she really was reluctant at first, but he's so talented that obviously it swayed her hand. And so, yeah, so we ended up with the same agent as well.
I think that's fantastic. And you both, I'm having a wriggle here because I've got little Tinker that wants to say hello. He has obviously met you already. And
Daisy can sleep on the couch.
You've got little Daisy. Do you want to wake her up and say a quick hello?
I'm gonna bring you to her, and then I'll steady the phone again.
There we go. Let's have a look at your Daisy. Hello, Daisy. Oh, look at that. Fast
I've got a
asleep.
reshot.
Fast asleep. Oh, Helen, thank you for sharing your Daisy. Gorgeous.
So I'm going to go back over now to sleep. She got cut on a bramble yesterday, so she has a little mark on her nose, but she's a good girl.
And
she's the light of our life.
Absolutely. I was just going to say, you know, you've blessed with 3 beautiful children, and you've got your lovely Daisy there, and great to meet Daisy. And you've always been a dog fan, because when you were little, you had a little dog called Snip, didn't you?
Yes, that's right. Little terrier. Yeah, little terrier. I don't know how old I was when she died, actually, but yes, I think we got her when I was about 6.
Yeah. And I remember she followed you everywhere. You would be tap dancing in the kitchen, even though you weren't allowed, and and she would be running around at your heels. So I think it's lovely when we bring animals into our lives. You've now got 4 children, which is incredible, with Daisy as well. And we love them with all our hearts. They really do light us up, don't they, as well? Yes, so nice to meet Daisy today as well. But I wanted to move forwards, and I wanted to also say, one of your other big productions, which of course was the Footballers' Wives. And how was that? How did you get that audition? And how was the process of all that? Did you enjoy all of that, Helen?
I did. Yes, I did. It was fun because it was very over the top. So, you know, the long nails, the spray tans, the hairdos, you know, all taken care of by them, of course. Those are the days. But that side also got a little bit taxing after a while, not to sound spoiled or anything, but it is quite every week and a half, you know, you got to scrape off the old tan, you know, a little bit painful, get the new one on. And then I ended up getting a little bit bored. So I went to just Tesco stick-on nails to save a bit of time, which worked well. But it was fun. It was beautiful locations, beautiful big houses. The audition came as I was getting in shape for the wedding, because we got married in 2004. Yeah, that's right, isn't it? Yes, 2004. And I'd actually done Starlight Express 2 years before that. So roller skating. So I got in a lot of shape. You know, I was in like the best shape of my adult life. And then I gymmed it up again for the wedding. So I was really trim and looking my best, shall we say, for the Footballers' Wives audition that came. It was in the run up to my wedding. And to be honest, I think it was probably the red leather trousers that got me the part. I had a pair of red leather Miss 60 trousers, got them from Carnaby Street, I can remember. Got a black pair.
Wow.
And they were very tight. They were very low rising, and I wore them with a little top. And trotted in, and had great chemistry, apparently, so they said, with the Ben Richards, who was playing Bruno, my husband. I can remember him saying that I looked like the actress in Troy. Troy was out at the time. It was all over the posters.
Oh, that's nice.
I've got a brain like a sieve. But there was an actress, a Hollywood actress, and he kept saying, oh, you know, that I looked like her. So I sort of played up to that in the audition. And yeah, they thought, well, these guys work well together. And I believe there was a recall. Probably wore the black trousers for the recall. If I wore the red ones. And it was very much about appearance. It was very much about, you know, makeup and the look. And it was back in the days of tighter skin and yellower hair and leather trousers. And yeah,
Helen, you still look gorgeous. You still look absolutely stunning. So don't you worry at all. And prior to that, as you just explained, I hadn't realised the running order of those. Prior to that, you just explained that you played a lead role in Starlight Express in the West End. Just tell us a little bit about that as well, Helen.
Well, Starlight had always been my favourite show from being young. Okay. I used to sing it and play it in my room over and over. I had the little cassette tape, play it over and over again. And I actually did another show with Preston Musical Comedy Society, the ones that did Annie. I did West Side Story when I was 16. You went in West Side Story, were you?
No, I think by then I'd be 18, so I'd be off at university. I went first before drama school, so yeah, so I'd have gone. Yeah,
studying drama. I was that bit younger, so in West Side Story, I met this lovely young gay guy called Jonathan, and he shared my passion for Starlight, and we just used to go on about it all the time. And anyway, and we went to see it. I think that was when I was at drama school. He came to visit and we went to watch. I went to see it quite a few times. And then there was an open audition for it. And Jonathan was like, "Oh, babes, we should go. It was at Pineapple, like a big cattle call where there's, you can just turn up and get a ticket. And so we went, and it was like a whole day workshop. And I got down and down and down through the day as people got sent home, and then got sent home. And then I went up for it again towards the end of drama school, and I got with a friend, a girl from drama school, and it's a bit tricky because she got booted out and had to wait in Covent Garden, and I got down and down and down, and I got down to the diners. So there was a few of us singing uncoupled around a piano. I think about 6 of us, and then I didn't get it, but I was really thrilled to have got quite far.
Well done. I was just going to say, because it is, as you quite rightly say, Helen, to encourage others, it is a hard industry. Back then, I'm talking to other artists as well who have said that back then it was quite brutal. And today I have a friend, Anthony Bristow, who helps people in our position of years ago to actually have the confidence backstage. So you've got a little bit more support that we didn't have. You're either in or you're out. You're in the rain outside, and sometimes you come back in, and vice versa. Sometimes you get through the dancing, sometimes the singing, and you don't know the rhythm of why.
Well, these were my first ever dance auditions, like cattle calls, and I have done you, but I'm not a dancer, as in. So I always used to call, and still sort of do, like girls that go to dance college. I call them dancers, like they get double. Whereas I'm a dancer, as in I did all my grades. I did my ballet tap modern from being 3, but then I went to drama school, not like the Royal Ballet School or a Doreen Bird. So there's a big difference. You can see it in the audition. So I was just laughing at my audacity, and then. So it was a great experience. And then I got a private audition slot through my agent a few years later. So it was after drama school, and it was, well, I guess it would have been around about the year 2000, I think it was. And again, the audacity of me trying to dance next to these dancers just made me, I can remember it really made me quite giggly. And it kind of got rid of my nerves, because I thought, what the hell am I even thinking?
Oh, Helen, you are underselling yourself. You have a superb talent for dance, and I know what you're saying. And I commend you for saying that, but you really are a very gifted dancer as well. You really are.
Well, thank you. I tell you what I can do. I can dance, and I'm flexible. I can still do the split, but I'm flexible. So my leg would go high if the girls were kicking. I could keep up, and I'm quick at picking up routines.
Yes.
And I learned that in a dance audition, that comes above everything, because you can't show off what you can do if you're floundering at the back. You just have to go for it.
Yes.
It's literally like in chorus line. You don't want to be that girl in the yellow. Girl in the yellow, don't dance. You're bumping into people. So at my audition after drama school around the year 2000, I had the dancing first, and I giggled through it because I found it hilarious that I was even attempting to compete with these visions of dance. I mean, honestly, they're amazing. So I've got myself right in the front. I thought, I'm just going to stand in the front row, and I'm just going to enjoy my day because it's all I'm going to have. And so I giggled my way through it, and I think it was that they saw, just I was relaxed and quite giggly, which is the character of Dinah, and which I eventually got, and that's what took me through to the next round. There was another dance audition, and again I was like, okay, and this time I had a bit of extra practice times. I remember going over it with Darren. He'd take me to the studio in our little local gym in Wood Green, and he'd say, he's quite a harsh taskmaster because he's honest. He's very honest. He'll tell you if you're great, and he'll tell you if you're not. So I was trying my best, and he was like, if you think you're trying enough, you've got to put more into it. And I did it in front of him, and it really helped. And so I got. So
it's like the real life Dirty Dancing going on.
Do you know what? Yeah, kind of. Or with him, it's basically like, nah, that's not good enough. Do it again.
I think it was the same with Patrick.
Yes, it was. Yeah, he got impatient, didn't he? Apparently, with Jennifer Grey. So yeah, there were singing auditions too. Obviously, within the dance process, there was you'd have to go and do your 2 songs, and I had singing lessons for it. And I can remember my lovely gay singing teacher, Ian Barr, absolutely lovely, going on and on about zhuzhing my hair up and putting lipstick on, whilst also coaching me in the singing. It was a country and western number. It was, it was an homage to Dolly Parton, who I adored. So that was brilliant too. I love Dolly Parton, Tammy Wynette, and Dinah's song is based on Tammy Wynette's divorce. Eaborce. They spell it out like she spelled out uncoupled. And it was all about the image. And I think he was right. So I turned up in a little blue, very little blue dress, because Dinah's costume is blue. I glammed up. And so I gave them a cartoon kind of image. And
You
I really
basically
did
dressed as the character. I want to just pause you there,
a
because you
nod,
dressed.
a nod to it, just a little nod to it.
I was just going to say, yes, you didn't go to a costume. You didn't dress as the entire with a little hat on. What?
Don't do that, kids.
No, don't do that. What I'm hearing you say is, in order for people to understand, don't just go all in black. And I was advised that by my manager as well. Don't just go to these auditions dressed in black because you think it makes you look slim, or whatever the thought processing behind it, because you will just blend in. You need to stand out. And what I am hearing you say is that you had a little homage, a little hat tip to what the character aesthetic wise looks like, and that's part of what drama school gives us. And that's why it's important, I would say, for anybody wanting to go professional, to have that training, because it is quality. There's a reason that, you know, the artists succeed very often when they come out of drama school, because the opportunities are greater, because the proper quality training has been taken. So you then had that understanding. You walked in with your little mini skirt on, looking gorgeous, makeup as well. And so you showed them a little bit of what the character could look like. And tell us from there what happened, Helen.
Well, okay, so it went well, and I loved the whole process. I enjoyed it. They liked me. I got quite a few recalls. So I realized it was getting, you know, it was on the cards. But I was still not a full-on dancer. Now, other than Cats is full-on dancing. I have not been in Cats. Starlight is, I mean, some people would say next after Cats, or even more so because of it being on wheels. So it's dancing, but you're required to. It asks the most out of you than any musical.
It's a very highly strenuous. Of course it is. You're not just dancing, Helen. You're dancing on blocker boots with wheels, which
and you're racing on them. You're racing around the track in the specially converted theatre, and you're basically like an athlete.
Yes.
Which was why it helped. You know, literally, you don't get a choice. You are absolutely worked like an athlete. But I was up against these dancing girls. So before I got the part, they contacted me, the Starlight, you know, team, and they said, "We really like you." Which is, you know, it's great, but your dancing isn't quite up to scratch.
Did they? Is that what they said?
Yeah, we would like to give you private coaching lessons before the next round, before the very, you know, it's like the final recall, before your next audition, to just get you up to that level, because we really like you. Wow. Now, I thought this is fantastic. I didn't take any, and there's no insult in that. I thought this is amazing. Oh. They've connected to me. They like me.
Yes.
Quite right too. I agree. I'm not a dancer. I was just a dancer, you know, doing really well, but they needed that extra stuff. So they gave me private coaching for free. West End private coaching. I just loved the whole thing. And I
Where was that,
myself
Helen?
into it.
Where did they host that, Helen? Was that at Pineapple?
The coaching might well have been at Pineapple. I got a brain like a sieve. I got no idea. I'm going to say Pineapple because it's a likely candidate. I don't know. It could have been at Sadler's Wells. It could have been at the no, it wasn't at the theatre itself.
And what did you have to do? What did you have to do in that private coaching, Helen, for anybody else?
Well, it will always be different, I guess. And that was quite an individual circumstance. Wow. I don't know how many people are contacted saying, "We really like you, but you're not quite good enough yet." It was great. It was so lovely.
Of course.
So they gave me the coaching on the routine that I would have to do for the next audition. And it was to Robbie Williams, "I Don't Wanna Rock DJ," that one.
Brilliant.
And coached me, and then I got the part.
So that basically when you then re-auditioned, you had the solid choreography inbuilt into the mind and muscle, which is what they often do to the select. That's why sometimes for anyone going to open castings, people in there who are getting through, sometimes they do know the routine or they've had these opportunities, and that's important for people to know. So just be mindful that the more you put in, as you've just explained, the more you keep going, no matter what the knockbacks, no matter what the adversity of audition processes can be. You twice auditioned for the musical you from childhood wanted to be in. and twice got rejected, but you didn't give up. And that's what I want to ask you as well. What's the mindset that you can inspire your own daughter, for example, Lula, and others to follow in your footsteps? What would you say is really integral towards that mindset? I mean, you were already saying, I'm not doing the emotional release. I'll do my emotional release on my own. And
yeah,
you know,
don't throw chairs and scream before an audition. Yeah, that's just, it's not, doesn't work.
So what would you say to anybody starting out today, Helen, following your footsteps? What would you say to them would be things to be aware of and be mindful of? Don't give up, obviously.
Don't give up. Yeah, it's a very different business to the one that I was familiar with. It's a different world. It's a different business. There's lots of new things coming in to bear in mind, which is all part of modern culture. But the same things remain: hard work. Don't give up. And I know I sound like a dinosaur, and I hated it when people said this to me, but it is a good idea to have something else as well, or even if it's connected, be ready to try something else as well, because we're not going to have tight skin for our whole life and, you know, get those 22-year-old parts. You've got to be ready for everything, whether it's teaching, whether it's something completely different. I just think that is wise, and it doesn't mean to say that you have to fall back on it and you'll end up using it. But it's really, really wise just to have those skills ready to draw on. I think, like, my girl loves writing songs. She's absolutely great. And I'm like, yes, so channel it, get them together, do something with it. Don't just write songs and have them randomly around your bedroom. Do something with it, gather them together, be organized, get it onto some kind of, you know, product. It's that being organized is a big one, definitely.
So, and what else, Helen? Because you also, you know, you had auditions for television as well, a completely different genre to musical theatre, and the skating skills. I mean, these are all add-on skills that are fantastic, that you've been able to jump into feet first and achieve with great success.
Well, first, sometimes in the skate school, we landed on our bums as much as we were on our wheels at the beginning. It was a learning curve. It was you know, I hadn't skated since I was probably 11 with you in the leisure centre or something. So I liked it, but I was no roller skater. So we had 6 weeks of just skate school, intensive, 9 till 6, as well as studios. I was absolutely knackered. I can remember Darren having to feed me with a fork, Chinese takeaway, lift it to my mouth because I was so tired.
Oh,
so
really?
6 weeks of skating, absolutely knackering, and then 6 weeks of rehearsals, and then we opened, and then
I mean, you're skating. I saw Starlight a number of times. You're skating around the entire audience. And I distinctly remember your father saying to me a few years ago how he would shout out in the audience. You do an impression of what Brian Latham would have said halfway through your production.
Well, he shouted this in every show since I was about 3, I think. I think the first one was Mrs. Jones's dance show. And every show I've ever done, he shouts, Yahoo! And it was so embarrassing. But as I got older, I started to appreciate it. So yeah, same at the Apollo Victoria.
You're number one fan, Helen. Number one fan.
He came to every single night of the Annie run and sat in every night.
It was brilliant, absolutely magical, man. Very much your support, as your mother was as well. And so moving forward, what other productions? Did you do any other productions in the West End that were kind of quite memorable for you as well?
Well, I did. I think you'd call it off West End. You know, like those off Broadway ones. My first musical was just after I graduated, called Carnaby Street, which was a kind of mishmash of. It was like a very loose London in the 60s kind of plot. A little bit strange, but fun. And that was my first musical. I think that only had like a 6-week run at the Arts Theatre.
Yes, yes.
But that was loads of fun, and I think it all blurs when you're about 1,000, like I am now. I think it was the first Christmas after graduating, or maybe the second, that I auditioned for my first professional panto, and I got it, and I got Wendy in Peter Pan.
Very good. Where was that on, Helen?
That was at the Millfield Theatre in Edmonton, and Edmonton wasn't Kensington and Knightsbridge, shall we say. Edmonton was North London, an area that I didn't really know. You know, had its nice bits, had its rough bits. And we had to do some publicity. Oh, how embarrassing. And we had to do publicity, part of our contract. We had to we had to go around the shopping centre in Edmonton, where, you know, all the normal people are just going about their business and in character. So Tinkerbell was bizarrely on roller skates, actually. I can remember the girl was all in green, lovely Lindsay, and she was on roller skates. And we had a guy from Hollyoaks at the time, some guy called Nathan from Hollyoaks, played Peter Pan, and me, and I had to skip around the shopping centre in a white puff-sleeved dress. But in the shopping centre, so they're thinking, is this a very strange adult woman? What is she doing? It wasn't necessarily clear. Oh, it was so but the panto was fun. The panto was gorgeous, and I got to go on wires for the first time because I had to fly.
Oh, good. I was just going to say,
that was
what was
fun.
that experience like?
Well, it was great, apart from the night that I gently and gracefully swung into the flat, into the side of the scenery. That was lovely. I covered it well. And also the night where we started off a scene in bed in the nursery, and we had Amy MacDonald playing Mrs. Darling. She was a star of, you know, a few decades previously, screen star. And we were in bed as children. So I was obviously Wendy, I was an adult, and then the other children, Michael and John, I think it is, were played by children. Well, the bed was really comfy, and we were set on stage before the curtain. And I actually, I fell asleep in the bed.
No,
I
can imagine you doing that, actually.
I was so comfy. And I woke up in the middle of the performance. I hadn't missed anything. I woke up in time. But that's the first time.
The introduction when you wake up at the beginning, where the orchestra's warming up, and you just thought, oh, this is quite melodic, I'm going to sleep. Well, you clearly don't have ME, because we struggle going to sleep. So we wish we had your genetics. That's fantastic. You actually went to sleep on stage. My goodness.
So it was very fun. It was, you know, I got to do my little stunt on the wires, and I got to play my first panto lead, and it was gorgeous.
I was just going to say how lovely that you were so relaxed. I mean, I was always full of adrenaline. You know, you could have peeled me off the ceiling. I probably could have flown independent of any of any pyrotechnics and wings. But you were quite restful in your manner as well. And did you balance with your health, Helen? Did you balance rest with the adrenaline and surge of the performance? Or were there any times when your health suffered because you were perhaps doing a little bit too much? How was that process for you?
So I was fairly sensible, but, you know, how can we put this? I was living in London. I was in my early 20s. I actually am kind of teetotal these days. I wasn't back then. So I was pretty sensible, and I worked hard at the stuff I really wanted, especially I remember with Starlight, it was very, you know, very focused. But it's a learning curve as you're a brand new little actress. And I was quite professional with Wendy. But then it was a few years later, I played Cinderella at the Hackney Empire, which was an absolutely gorgeous job. And my second professional panto, that was the Christmas going from 1999 to 2000, because it was the millennium, the big millennium. And I was Cinderella, and it was absolutely just gorgeous job, amazing. But there was a bar at the back of the auditorium, and we'd go there. Sometimes, not every night, but sometimes after a show. And my voice does not respond well when I've been drinking at all. And I had my friend, is my friend Catherine. You know Catherine.
Oh, yes.
Time. She'd come to visit.
Mancy, yeah.
That's right. She'd actually come to visit to see the last show of Cinderella, which was on a Sunday. So we had the last night party on the Saturday night. Yeah. And we had karaoke, and we had a lot of white wine. Now, they don't go together that well.
Karaoke and white wine.
And I chose Dancing Queen. Now, do you know how high ABBA's Dancing Queen sits? It's high. It's really high. And I'd had a little wine, and I was giving it Dancing Queen on the Saturday night. And I woke up on the Sunday morning sounding like this. I have no voice at all. Nothing. And I had the final show to do. I just sing Colours of the Wind as my solo, which is in itself quite high. And all these beautiful love.
As a man, Helen.
You know, back in the day, and I was doing it as a man. And I was singing opposite Norman Bowman, who is an amazing voice, and he was an amazing Prince Charming. We had duets and stuff. He went on to play the lead in Mamma Mia, as well as lots of other things. He's just fabulous. I was mortified. I can remember him comforting me in the wings. I was crying my eyes out. And
Helen.
they were also videoing the last show, of course.
What I'm
So
meaning is when you were singing, because you had a lower resonance, you had to do it in the male pitch.
I couldn't even get the male pitch. I literally was growling. I was just growling. It was all
Oh,
awful.
Helen.
And a photo, you can see photos of the night before, and in one of them I have some drinks lined up behind me. So I definitely wouldn't suggest that. That would be my advice.
Am I right that you worked, was it the RSC that you worked
No,
for?
not the RSC, but I did do a play at the National. Yeah, so I
Okay.
did. So yes, very nice for your CV and all that. And my agent, she was a great agent, and so she brought me in these things, and I went to audition for the Villain's Opera, it was called, which was a rewriting of the Beggar's Opera, and the music was by Stephen Warbeck, who actually won an Oscar for his music for Shakespeare in Love with Gwyneth Paltrow. He did the score, and he won an Oscar for that. So I was like, ooh, very exciting, Stephen Warbeck. And I thought I was auditioning for Polly Peachum, I believe it was. So there's Polly Peachum and Lucy Lockett, they're like the lead girls, and I auditioned for Polly Peachum. Didn't realise that in actual fact, it's a business of smoke and mirrors, isn't it? As I was waiting to audition, what they'd done was taken a pause in rehearsals. They'd already cast all the parts. They were after a couple of slots in the ensemble, but they didn't say that. So they paused the rehearsal. All the cast, I wondered who the people were in the corridor, were the cast who trooped out the room to free it up so that we could audition. So they'd already cast Polly and Lucy. And the girls
No.
actually waiting in the corridor, and I did my audition, and then I got a part in the chorus, and I took it at the time. It was early days, and yeah, it was the National, so I knew it would sort of be good for my CV. And it was fun. We had fun. I played a various different parts. I played a homeless person in a sleeping bag. I played a stripper. We didn't strip, but I was dressed as like a schoolgirl. We had a cowgirl. We had a nurse. Very politically correct. So we played these strippers in there was a scene set in some big, like Mr. Big, the gangster, his club, and then so we had a big pole, and not that any of us could get up it, but I used to walk around it, but I couldn't get up it at all. And a homeless person and various other things, and it was.
Did you accidentally ever mix the two characters? Did you accidentally, as a homeless person, go around this pole?
Yeah, mixing the scenes up. Oh yeah, I played a police. I played like a police, like a sniper or something. It was a police outfit, top to toe,
Yeah.
boiler suit, and I got my first weaponry training. We had like an arms, I could say an arms dealer, not that. We got trained in the rifles, trained how to execute it all and keep it safe and all the rest of it.
Wow, that's
That was
great.
also, yeah, it was a real experience.
Sorry to interrupt. Did you also have the opportunity, Helen, to play or understudy for those roles? Because one thing people don't always understand is that when you are in the ensemble at the back, you are often sometimes third or second or first cover for one of the leads as well. So were you a cover for one of those two leads?
No, I was just a stripper and a tramp. No, I wasn't a cover, but that is true what you're saying. So like when I was Dinah, I think there were about 8 swings, and a swing is exactly that. It's an understudy who's ready to go on. Well, within Starlight, it was someone ready to go on for any part, like at the drop of a hat. If someone got injured, because there were a lot of injuries, obviously, with the high skating level and everything. So I had about 8 girls who knew the part of Dinah, who were ready to come on for me. Whenever, not that I ever sort of let them. I was like rarely ill. Me and Pearl were like we rarely missed a show because we loved it. We were never off, poor swings. But now and then they'd get a turn, and that was great because we still got paid, but we got to sit in the auditorium and watch the show because they'd say, it's time for Jane's going to have a turn. We're going to put Anna on tomorrow, but you still got paid, which was great. But no, at the National, I was just a tripper and a tramp.
But I mean, great credits to you and for your CV, as you've just rightly said. So you've got pantomime experience, you've also got the National Theatre, and then you've got the West End as in Starlight, and then on top of that you've got your TV credits, which was your commercials, which were building as well, and on top of that you then land this lead role in Footballers' Wives. And then from there, Helen, after you had sunk your teeth into all these different fantastic modalities in entertainment and such a plethora of gifts there on top of, so well done you. After that, as you have had your own children and raising your own family, tell us today where you are now, because I think in reference to being in Starlight, you've set up your own production company called Starlight. So tell us all about that.
That's right. Yeah. So I guess the two worlds overlapped. The acting. So I actually started my family. So we got married in. He's in the kitchen. We got married in 2004. As you know, you were there. And I'd got Footballers' Wives already. I'd got the contract. I'd signed the contract. I'd got the job, and I was due to start really soon. I think it was like a week after the wedding, maybe 2 weeks, like after the wedding, because I can remember we couldn't go on honeymoon. We got to the Lake District for 3 days, had a lovely honeymoon for just 3 days because I was starting filming. So we went. It was a year later. We went to Barbados. We did get a nice honeymoon, but. Yes, so I got married, then started the first series of Footy Wives, which went on to a second series the following year. So I did two final series. And in the final series, my character, Lucy Milligan, got pregnant. And I actually did a scene with a pregnancy test. And I didn't realise at the time, as I was shooting the scene, I can remember she was sitting on the edge of a bath in her, in a very fancy, glamorous lingerie thing, negligee thing that they had. And I can remember her looking at the pregnancy test, which was positive. And at the time, I had no idea I myself was pregnant with my first baby. But I hadn't found out yet. So I found out in character, and then about a week later, found out myself. So that was actually bittersweet, even though I would just have a whole football team of them. Still, I just absolutely love motherhood.
Yes.
Love kids, and I teach kids now, and I love it. But So I found out, and it was just at the end of filming series 2, and I'd already signed up for Dancing on Ice. So Dancing on Ice was just beginning. It was the very first series ever. And it all sounded very exciting, this ice skating reality show, and I got invited to do it because I was on ITV, blah, blah, blah. And Torval and Dean were coaching it. And I just thought, this sounds awesome, and this will, be good for exposure. And I just want the. So I'd started ice skating at Alexandra Palace with Torval and Dean. They were teaching me. They were actually getting quite excited about me winning, because due to Starlight a few years before, my legs, my muscle memory kind of converted the roller skating to ice skating quite easily.
Yeah, of course.
I'm rubbish now, though. You should see me now. I'm just rubbish. But I was really getting there in the very first rehearsals. I'd met all the cast, and I started to learn how to skate backwards. They'd done some turns. I was progressing kind of at quite a fast pace, apparently, they said. And it was really exciting. And I was right in the middle of Dancing on Ice. So Footballers' Wives had finished filming, and I was busy in rehearsals for Dancing on Ice. And we started to have meetings about all other things coming off it. I had a big meeting in Soho House, and I can remember, about a book deal and a fitness DVD deal off the back of Footballers' Wives, Dancing on Ice, all this very exciting. And then I found out I was pregnant.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, right in the middle of Dancing on Ice rehearsals, which obviously you can't jump around. And you've seen what they do on Dancing on Ice. They fling them around their heads. There's all sorts of risk. So I think I had about 3 days of being teary, 3 days of crying, pulled out of Dancing on Ice. I had to. Had my gorgeous Lenny in May,
and that was May. He is absolutely gorgeous. And I remember holding him in my arms when you came up to Preston. There's a few photographs of that. He's now 18. He was a little treasure, and that's your joy, because I always say to guests who come on here, sometimes in life things happen for a reason, and what a choice to make. I mean, I don't think any mother, and I'm not a mother myself, there is nothing that would come in the way of being able to hold my own child, and you got that opportunity. So that's where you have to remember that entertainment's all very nice, but actually the opportunity to have your own children, I believe, would be, there's no choice in that. It's a case of that is the most
Either
magical thing.
Yeah. For me, it's a no-brainer. I do know that a lot of actresses who, you can get fiercely ambitious, which to me has got two sides to it. It's positive and negative. You can get really ambitious and you can prolong starting a family so that for your career. And then sometimes it can be heartbreaking. You hear of just the women who went, oh, I left it too late. I forgot. And it's like, okay. So although the timing could have been obviously better, after the 3 days.
So how old were you, Helen? How old were you when you had beautiful little Lenny?
Lenny was born in 2006. So I got married at 28 and had him at 30. Yeah, so I was 30.
Fantastic. And after that, after Lenny, you then you tell us your other 2 children. And
yes, so we had Lenny. We had a tricky start. He was in intensive care for the first 7 weeks. And one sec. And then we brought him home. Everything went very well. He had gastroschisis, which I actually went on to this morning to talk about. I can remember wanting to sort of spread awareness.
Helen? What's gastroschisis, Helen?
Gastroschisis is when the baby's stomach wall doesn't form properly around its organs when it's in the womb. So as he was in the womb, his bowels and his intestines were sort of hanging out. So when he was born, I think he came 6 weeks early. He literally, you could see little purple sausages on his stomach, his intestines. They're there, they're visible, they're right there. And until the 1970s, it was not a good prognosis at all. And it was in the 70s they discovered that was due to losing heat through the exposed organs. And as soon as they started insulating the organs, the survival rate shot up. So we knew that we had good odds, but we also knew it was very scary. It was really, really scary. So I really went natural, gave him every help I could, natural birth and all that. And it was very lovely birth, but worrying. And then he had 7 weeks in intensive care, and then we could bring him home. He was on loads of different medications for a further year. It was all very complex, but yeah, he's right as rain, gorgeous.
Good. Nice
6-pack on those abs. So they took it in on the day he was born. He had an operation where they took it all in. I don't know how they do it. It's amazing what they do. And we had the operation done at the Royal London, which is just amazing. He was due to go to Great Ormond Street, but because he came early, they didn't have any beds. But the Royal London was amazing. So I gave birth at University Hospital behind Tottenham Court Road, and then they whisked him off in an ambulance, and they wouldn't let me and Darren go. I hadn't been checked. But I just said, well, I'm going, you need to call me an ambulance. But they wouldn't call me an ambulance. I said, well, call me a taxi then. And they said, we can't do that. We haven't checked you after the birth. I said, well, check me at the other hospital. Transfer my care just over the phone. Oh, we've never done it. I said, well, you're about to do it today because I'm going.
And then you threw a chair at her.
Yeah, I was very calm. But I just was going to get to my baby in case, the way I saw it, if he didn't make it through the operation, I wanted to try and see him before he went in case that was my last time. I just wanted to be near him. So I leapt up I kind of leapt up, still had my makeup on. It was a nice calm birth.
Got your roller skates on.
Yes, got my roller skates on. And I made them call me a taxi. And at 45 minutes after the birth, I was in the back of a London cab on my own because I sent Darren ahead in the car. I said, just get there as quick as you can. And I was swinging round corners in central London, holding on my jelly belly. And the taxi driver was like, what? When I said I'd just given birth. And it was amazing. Well, it was amazing. And it was very, very scary. And I didn't get there before the operation, but he made it through. So I saw him. I got there as he was coming out of the operation. And he is, right as rain. So quite dramatic, but he is right as rain.
So a magical story there for Lenny as well. So it was, like you say, a traumatic drama, but also a beautiful ending as well. And the hospital, obviously, great care. And he's now fit and well, age 18. And then after that, you've got 2 other beautiful children that you've had as well. So tell us about them.
So yes, that was my family journey. Really started like tunnel vision because it was so scary. We had world-class care, but it was absolutely, everything else faded to black. So the thought of keeping up with acting, it just didn't. No. He was so desperately ill. I mean, desperately ill, and it was all Lenny, baby. And I can remember Dancing on Ice saying, she can come back in the second series next year. You know, it's a very fickle business. So they did say that. And then so the next year came around. I think I just got out of the hospital. And they said to my agent, what TV has she done lately? And I'm like, you know, does the baby monitor in intensive care count? That's the only screen I've been near, you know, straight out of the hospital. So, of course, it didn't actually happen. I didn't go into the next series, you know, because I wasn't like in, you know, Corrie or something the night before in people's living rooms. So you have a currency, and it's very short-lived in TV. So fair enough. I understood, but no, I didn't do the next series. But yes, I did go on to have more babies, and
Yes.
my girl was born in 2008. Lula's nearly 16.
Wow. And she's following in your footsteps, I believe.
Yes, she's she loves musical theatre. She writes her own songs, and then lately she's stepped up even more with her singing. She has a singing teacher at school, and she was very excited to join it's like a Sunday afternoon drama school in London, and she goes in for a few hours and she trains and gets coaching with like West End professionals. She's loving it. She's loving it, and it's lots of fun. It's for, you know, people all around her age.
And what's that called, Helen? For anybody that doesn't know, what's the place called?
It's all, yeah, this is all over social media. It's all over TikTok. I think it's quite famous. It's called West End Musical Theatre.
Brilliant. And she's getting proper professional tuition at age 16. That's fantastic. So age 16, she's getting proper professional tuition, and following in your good, talented footsteps. And you also have a little son as well. Well, he's not so little anymore. And what's his name?
He's Arthur, and he's at high school, and he is 14, and he is doing well, doing his own thing. Yep. Not so much musical theatre probably, but he loves playing the piano.
Wow.
He likes just he's on the piano quite a lot actually, so it's great. Yeah, and they all got music. And
in your career now, Helen, heading towards closing the interview, I just want to ask you what a little bit about your theatre school that you've set up, and where is that? If people want to contact you, is it on social media, on Facebook perhaps? And how can they contact you if they want to join?
Yes, you'll find me on Facebook. So it's local. So it's really the local people. It won't really serve. It's not like it, branches in every town. It's low key, but it's very lovely. And I set it up. I set it up about 10 years ago. So we moved to our town in about 12 years ago, and I started teaching Zumba kids was the first thing. So I started teaching exercise classes, and I think I got behind on a couple of invoices with the primary school where I was teaching. And in my panic to pay the invoices that I just let slip back in the day, not like that now. So I quickly set up a new business. Within 3 days, I'd been able to pay the invoices. I was like, I need to set up. So I set up Starlight Kids. I need to do some more classes in the week to sort this invoice. And that's how it started.
Wow, Helen. So what I'm hearing you say is within 3 days, you set up your own theatre school. So if anybody is saying, oh, it's a long process, I'm not sure how to do it, you managed to set it up within 3 days. So how did you do that? Because I also had a theatre school in Preston, and you set yours up. Whereabouts is it, Helen? And is it for all age groups? Just tell us a little bit about it.
So it's in Hertfordshire, and it really is just appealing to like the local town. And it's I start at age 3, so I do a class for age 3 to 5s, and I do a class for age 6 to about 10. And it's quite low key at the moment. The summer terms are often a bit quieter as parents want their children to play outside. Fair enough, but it's absolutely lovely. And I did set it up in a few days. But if you think about it, back to what we used to do as kids, I kind of started back then because I was choreographing and thinking along those lines, and now that's what I do. So we take West End songs, whether it's The Jungle Book or Mary Poppins, and I prance around my dining room here like I always used to with you, prance around my dining room, choreograph it, and then teach it to them and get their confidence up, and it's great for them. They really enjoy it. So
and what do they
it's
get?
A lot of fun.
What do they get from it, Helen? They get confidence building, teamwork skills. You tell us anything else. And also your West End and television skills will have massively come into play, as well as all your childhood experiences and you know, all the things that you've done. These are the sort of attributes that you're giving the children locally in the community. And tell us what your next production is and how people can contact you.
Okay, so it's not so much a production, but we do what I call watching week, where their their parents come and watch in the last class of term, and I you know, make it a big thing and give them a goodie bag and their little face. It's really lovely. They do get a lot of confidence out of it, and things like speech. Like there's a couple of little kids, you know, like many of them have maybe a little, not quite a speech impediment, but you know, difficulty saying some of their words. And I've watched the improvement with that. I've really watched the improvement because basically I take a lot of exercises that I vaguely remember from drama school and I tweak them. Even for a 3-year-old, you can get the same fun and use out of that adult drama school exercise, and I change it around for their age group.
What classes do you offer and what age groups for each class and times of the day? So over to you.
So I offer classes for 2 different age groups. I teach little ones aged 3 to 5, and they get 30 minutes. At the moment, that is on a Monday. And I teach older children age about 6 to about 10, and they have an hour with me on a Friday. And that, at the moment, it changes. It can change. It alters term to term. I kind of go with the flow. And at the moment, we're coming to the end of the summer term, and that's working really well.
Fantastic. So it's age 3 to 10 is the bracket, but there's 2 different age groups. And if anybody does want to come, just remind us again which hall it's in.
It's in a place called Batford, but you'll find it all on my Facebook. So anyone who is interested, that's the avenue to go down. MORFITT.
Fantastic. So if anybody is interested and they want to start classes with having heard Helen's podcast today, the highs and the even bigger highs that Helen's career has brought to her, and you know, what a wealth of talent and a bundle of energy, and also a fantastic person to boot as well. And you really are an inspiration to anybody who wants to have a career in the arts. And what would your last few words be to anybody that wants to follow in your footsteps, Helen? What's your feelings and last words?
Well, my last word would be supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Not what your dad's last words would be.
No, I'd say go for it. Go for it. Give it your best shot. Be honest with yourself about how good you are. There's lots of people that think they're a whole load better than they are. It could have been me included, I'm sure. Be honest. Put the work in. Give it a go.
So put the work in, have a go at it, work hard. Obviously, you can, you know, as you've said, you can play hard as well. You can enjoy life and enjoy the experience as well. But most importantly, don't give up, because just because you get rejected, as Helen has proven today, just because you get rejected at your first audition and even the second for the same show, does not mean that the third opportunity isn't round the corner. And if you're not right for one thing, I once had an audition for Les Mis and I got recalled for Cats. So you just don't know. If you're not right for one production, you may be right for another. And keep going, keep smiling, and good things will come to you. And that also includes your wonderful children as well. And congratulations, Helen, on 20 years of marriage and 29 years together, you and Darren. And all my love to you all as a family. And I look forward to seeing you next time you're up in Preston. And thank you for today's podcast. Absolute pleasure to speak to the beautiful, the very talented Helen Morfitt. Thanks ever so much, Helen.
Thanks, Cathy. That was fun. Okay, I'll speak to you soon.
Bye-bye, love. Bye-bye, love.
Bye.